So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate some of the rhythmic concepts from Module 1 in aural skills. So at UGA, in terms of aural skills, we basically have two primary methodologies for how we perform a rhythm. One methodology will be that we conduct the rhythm, maybe do something in 3/4, and speak the neutral syllable of ta throughout, something like ta, 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 so on and so on. The other method would be essentially, if we were still in 3/4, we basically, instead of our voice being the instrument that performs the rhythm and we conduct along with it, our body performs the rhythm somehow via clapping or maybe playing an instrument, tapping or something like that, while the voice maintains the metric structure. So I'm going to demonstrate a few things. I'm on page 5 and I'm looking at exercise 1.17. So if I was going to conduct through this exercise, you might notice that there's a tied note value. There's also an augmentation dot in measure 2, and there's some shorter note values in measure 3. I'm using a conducting baton just because I don't get a chance to use it that much, and I miss using it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to perform this rhythm just to show you generally how this might go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a full measure of anacrusis. Chapter 1 is dealing with simple meters, so we're talking about beat structures that break into 2 equal component parts. So this looks like simple duple, 2/4. I'm gonna give myself a whole measure of pickup, just down, up, 1, 2, and then I'm gonna perform it with my voice on a neutral syllable of ta. So here we go, 1, 2, ta, 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 done. So if you're struggling with something like the tied note value in that first bar, my advice, just going down the road, would be to, if you're struggling with that, take the tie out, perform it as if the tie doesn't exist. In other words, measure 1 might become ta, 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 and then put the tie back in after you've practiced it a little bit. Ta, 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 so on and so on. So that's the first methodology for how we kind of perform rhythms. Conducting whatever the meter is, and our voice is going to articulate the rhythm as the instrument. Method 2 would be doing something like, say we're staying on exercise 1.17, speaking the metric structure, so speaking 1, 2, or we can divide the beat, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and if we so desire. Nothing wrong with that. And then we perform it either by clapping, or I chose a wood block for my instrument of choice today. So performing 1.17 by speaking the metric structure and performing the rhythm, again, giving a whole measure of pickup to begin with, we might end up with this. 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and 1, 2, and 1. Something along that line. So notice I divided that beat sometimes to make sure I was articulating the rhythm in an appropriate place, and that's kind of how I might perform it. Take exercise 1.18 below it, you might notice it doesn't have a full measure to begin with. It starts with what we call an anacrusis, which is indicated by an incomplete measure at the beginning, which is then completed at the very end. So if you look at exercise 1.18, if I was conducting and speaking a neutral syllable, I'd give myself a whole measure of pickup, and then I'd start with that pickup measure. So same thing, 2/4, I would do something like 1, 2, 1, ta, 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 ta. Or if we're speaking and performing by clapping, I'll clap this one, I might do something like this. 1, 2, 1, and 2, and 1. And then going into the exercise that way. So I hope this helps. It's a little bit of a general sort of primer on kind of chapter 1 stuff. I'll post another video for module 2 stuff down the road.